quick video and show you these super duper basics. I want to start with supplies first, okay? I think it's really important to be organized so that when you sit down and get started, you don't have to search for stuff. The biggest thing, in my opinion, especially when you first start out, is a silicone mat so that when you do your hot gun glue, it won't stick to it. So we're going to leave that right there, and then I'll show you at the end that it doesn't stick. If you don't have a silicone mat, the backer that they use for stickers works exactly the same. So this is one of those mailing label things. Okay, hang on. Hang on. There we go. When you pull it apart, this part, the glue won't stick to. This is hard to do without a webcam stand thingy. So let's put a glue dot there and I'll show you. Okay. Next thing, for pretty much every shell flower, you're going to need an odd number of shells starting from the outside working in. So for this particular one, we're going to make this one. We're going to need 5 of the same size petals for the outside, 4 of the same size petals for the inside that is smaller than the ones on the outside, and then the next size down you're going to need 3. So you see here, we got 5 on this ring, 4 on this ring, 3 on that ring, and then the center. Okay. Let's see what else. For your centers, you can use pretty much anything. You can use, like little beads. You could use various shells. You could use pieces of jewelry. You could use, little colored rocks. I mean, it's really quite endless. Buttons. Buttons have been my favorite lately. I've been on a button kick. So that's the basics. Okay, back to our silicone mat. Our glue is dry and it doesn't stick. Back to this one, glue is dry and it doesn't stick. I think that that's super important because when you're making them to begin with, you're not going to be real comfortable with placement. You're going to want to move it around a lot. So I think if you use the hot glue to begin with, because it dries fast and it's pliable, you can kind of move it around and get used to it. Once you've learned and you're comfortable, then you can go ahead and move to, an E6000 or a tacky glue or, whatever you want to use in the future. But I would suggest when you're learning to use hot glue. So let's get started. Hopefully you'll be able to see, and if not, then I'll remake the video. Okay. So just going to give yourself a good size glob. And again, as you get better, you'll use less glue, you'll use different glue. But to learn, I would say don't be afraid. Just be messy, put it out there and do it. And then you can work on, being neater and using less and all that mess later. So, glob. You're going to take your shells. We're going to make, remember, this one. So our outer, hinges are going to be pointing out. If you wanted to do it the opposite, you would get this flower. And on this one, our hinges are pointed in. So, when we're going out, we're going to take our bottoms and plop them in the glue. And then you're going to overlap. And then I want it to be a little wider, so I'm just going to pull it apart a little. Okay, so that is our outer ring. Smush it into place, move it around until you're happy. It's fine. If you want it to be, a tighter flower, you would just hold these up and let them dry. Okay. So I'm just blowing it on a little bit to get it to dry a little bit faster for the sake of the time of this video. Okay, so we're going to hope that's good enough just so we can move on. For our next ring, plop yourself a little more glue. Kind of overlap those edges just a little. And then we're going to use our 4 that we had laid out for that next ring. You're going to want to do those, in between the petals would be the way to say it. So not even, but, in the middle here. So we got our 1 and our 2, and our 3. And then this one you're gonna put, you know, the one side over and then the other side under. And you're doing that with all of your flowers so that they kind of lay, you know, nice and even. Now, if you wanted to, you could stop right there. You could stop right there and you could pop, you know, whatever you want to be your center in. I like 3 rows just because I do. So, a little more glue. Kind of wish I had went with the smaller shells. We're gonna make it work though, because I don't want you to have to wait on me. So, you know what, it's not gonna work, they're too big. Okay, just so we don't have to dig, we're gonna stop with 2, but if we were going to do, you know, 3, you do it exactly the same. I'm gonna use my tiny pine cone, if I can get it to size down, for the center of this one. Golly moly, that's hard to cut. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna use tiny pine cone. So we put our glue dot in the middle, and then our little center. All right, so I don't love that. I think I'll probably go in a little later and do me some glue around the edges and pop in, you know, some little extra flowers. Just, I'm not a huge fan of that, but you get the idea. So we're gonna leave it. So once this dries completely, and actually the outer ring is, so once it dries, you'll be able to pick it right up off of that center mat, silicone mat, and that's what the bottom will look like. Now, if you wanted to glue it to something, obviously you would put the glue right here and glue it to whatever you want to glue it to, and no one would ever be able to see that glue, so it is fine, okay? You know what, for sake of time, I think I'm going to cut this video here, and then I will do a couple more videos for different types of flowers, because there are tons and tons that you can make depending on what shells. Here's a couple that I've done using various shells. I think the important thing, you know, is that it's supposed to be fun. So if you're making them and you're aggravated and you're stressed out and you're not having a good time, stop, put it down, go do something else. You know, and come back again later when you're less stressed, because if you're not having fun, then it's not going to come out good. I mean, that seems obvious to me. So, and there's no right or wrong either. Like, I have made some seriously weird flowers, and that's okay. There may be a project later that, you know, that I want to use these weird flowers for. Like this one, I was experimenting with black shells. Not my favorite, but it might come in handy later. And this one, I was trying to use fragments. Don't know what I'm going to do with it, but maybe I'll use it for something. This one I was experimenting with height. Haven't found a reason for it yet, but I will. For things like this is kind of cool actually. If you'll leave your center button out when you figure out what you want to do with it, if you want to kind of stick to a theme, then you can come in later with, you know, colored buttons or whatever and kind of match them or coordinate them, you know, all together. So, you know, so that's kind of cool. When I make, you know, just random flowers just to learn, I usually leave the centers out. So, all right, so we are up to 9 minutes. So I'm going to cut it here and I'll make a new video to show you more later. Bye.